Okay, three-dimensional shapes or figures, 1.7. First of all, I want to have a look at the vocabulary. First word up against is the polyhedron. Okay, polyhedron, just like polygon, it's an enclosed shape with no curves. So make sure that what you did for polygon is exactly the same for polyhedron. Most of the rest, you know, the base is the next most important one. Okay, the base is actually the shape that makes the polyhedron. So if you've got a triangular based pyramid, it's the triangle on the bottom. If you've got a square prism, then it's the square. So make sure you differentiate between what is the base, what is the face. Other ones that need to just quickly talk about is the platonic solids. They're the 5 most important ones for this exercise, for this section at the moment. You won't be using them as in exams or anything like that. Okay. Finally, in this next bit is the surface area. The surface area is the area of the shape, each side, each face of the shape. So if you're looking at my portable, it's all the area of each of the 4 walls added together, the area of the ceiling, and then the area of the floor, all added together. Okay, in example 1, it says determine whether each solid is a polyhedron. Your first answer must always be yes or no. So if I'm looking at example 1, the first thing I would write for that is yes, it is a polyhedron. It's a closed shape, none of the sides are curved. Okay, then identify the solid. This is a rectangular prism. Okay, and then it says name the bases, the faces, the edges, the vertices. So now we are using letters for each and every one. So the first base, I can QRST. Okay, so I can do that for the first base. Obviously the second base is the one that's on the bottom. Keep going through the faces, the vertices and the edges to answer your question according to what they've asked for. Here's the solution for each one of them. Here's A, carrying on from where I left off. Okay, the second one, if you look at B, the moment that you see the curves, it's got a curved surface, not a polyhedron. You don't have to answer any of the other questions apart from what is the name of the shape. In this case, it's a cylinder. And okay, if you want to carry on practicing, here's another 2 sections that you can have a look, 2 questions you can have a look at. One's a cone, one's a triangular prism. See what answers that you do come up with. Okay, I did say there were 5 special platonic solids, and these are the ones that you use. As far as geometry is concerned, we're going to use the tetrahedron and the hexahedron, but the rest you probably won't be using now until you do calculus. And here's the worst part of this section. Each of these 5 shapes, they're using S for the surface area, V for volume. Sometimes in the textbook they will use T instead of S for total surface area, so be careful. It really doesn't make any difference which. Okay, let's have a look at the prism. First of all, we've got this one, P. P stands for the perimeter, around the outside. Okay, normally in textbooks, as far as that's concerned, it's the area around the base. Doesn't always have to be that, you will still get the same answers. And H is the height, and 2 times B, 2 times the area of the base. So be careful, because one is the perimeter, one is the area of the base. The regular pyramid. Surface area, a half PL plus B. You know, obviously the area of a triangle is a half base times height. This is a variation of that. The P, again, is the perimeter around the base. Now L comes into it. You've not had the L before. L is the slope. So be very careful that you read each question. Is it the slope you need, or is it the perpendicular height? Okay. In both cases, at some point you're going to make right angles for the slope. If you make a right angle as per the diagram you've got there, chances are when it gets a bit further into the questions or exam type things, you're going to be looking at Pythagoras. Okay, and then carrying on through the cylinder, the cone and sphere. The formulas that you've got here, there's only the sphere that's on the reference sheet, so it's not a case that you've got to remember them. Unfortunately it is. You have to remember each of these formulas in order to be able to do the questions. Okay, here's example 2 that's in your textbook. It's asking for the surface area. You've been given a formula. Quote the formula. The same with the volume. You've been given a formula. Quote the formula. Your second line should be where you substitute in numbers. In this case, for the square base pyramid, the perimeter is 24. You know that the slope is 5, and you know the area of the base is 6 squared or 36. You get an answer of 36, pretty quick and easy. And then the volume is, this time it's 1/3 whatever the base is times the height. Well, the base is 6 squared, which is 36, and in this case the height is perpendicular height, so that's 4. Do the calculations and you'll finish up with 48 cubic centimeters. Make sure 1 is surface area, that's units squared. Volume is 3-dimensional units cubed. Okay, here are a few more you can have a look at if you want to practice again. Surface area and volume of the cylinder, the cuboid and the circular based pyramid. Okay, so let's have a look at questions 1, 2 and 3. So question number 1. First of all, determine whether the solid is a polyhedron. Well, it's a cylinder. It's got curved surfaces. The answer is no, but we do know it's a cylinder. Simple answer. Make sure you answer the question first, which is no. Question number 2. We've got a square-based pyramid. All the sides are straight, so the first part of that is yes, it is a square pyramid. Okay, now we've got to come up with whatever the base is. Well, the base, we can put it down as a rectangle or a square, KLMN. Okay, that's the 4 dimensions of the base. Okay, now what we've got to do, the faces. Well, you've got 4 faces, but you don't need to count the base. The base you've already done. So now we've got triangles. If you think about it, you've got J, K and N, and I'll put 3 dots there. You can do the rest of those. All right, edges. Well, let's have a look at the edges. First of all, if I look, we need KN is one of the edges, and again there are plenty more, so you can carry that one on. And then finally the vertices. Well, purely and simply with the vertices, just use the letters K, L, M, N and J. Okay, so let's have a look at question 3, 4 and 5, but I'm only going to do question number 3. Number 3 is example 2. Example 2 and example 3 are exactly the same in the method. It's just that you are finding out what each of the shapes are. You are finding the same thing but in different shapes. So let's have a look at number 3. Okay, well, first of all it says find the surface area and the volume. First thing to do when you get questions like that is quote the formula. So the surface area, and I'm using the T because that's what they've used in the textbook, the perimeter times the height plus 2 times whatever the base is. Okay, So let's go back to the question. Question is, right, so T, the perimeter, okay? Now in class we talked about whatever the shaded one is, but you'll find eventually if you do it all, it won't make a difference. But what I'm doing for the perimeter is I'm going to do 4 times the 3, okay? So that's the P part of it. The H part of that will be the height, which is going to be 4. And we're going to add on to that 2 times the area of each base. Well, the base is, we've decided, is 3 times 3, so that's 9. So we've got 16 times, so we've got 16 times 3 is 48, plus onto that 2 times 9, which is 18, and we'll finish up with 66, and that is centimeters squared. Okay. If you decide to use 4 and 3 for the base, you will still get the same answer, okay? So don't be too worried about the answer. And the volume, according to the book, instead of length times width times height, they've just done the base times the height. Well, let's use what we've used here. We've used the base